Okay.
We should be all set. Yep, we are all set. Recordings again, just, yes, we are recording.
10:18 and we're out of executive session.
10:18, thank you. Okay,
All right, let's move to our action item. Section 5 of the agenda. Action item A is the fiscal year 26 annual budget, which is attachment C to the agenda. Can I have a motion to bring that item to the floor?
So moved.
Something's wrong. Please try again.
Something is wrong.
Bill made the motion. Oh my gosh.
Okay, can I have a second to that motion, please?
Second?
You can. Okay, Matt.
Yeah, so we presented this last month as a draft budget. We made a couple changes, but nothing significant. One thing I will point out in the proposed budget for fiscal year 26, we are showing a deficit of $70,000, which is the amount of funding that we've allocated towards the legal services and consulting services for the PURA docket. We're hopeful that we can minimize that as much as possible, but given the discussions we had during that meeting on the authorization of that funding, we anticipated using the fund balance, and the only way to use the fund balance through our financial activities is to carry a deficit for the year. So we're just showing that as a starting point for the year. As Colleen and I have tried to do for and Patrick Carlton have tried to do for the last number of years, is obviously mitigate any major expenses and try to build up that fund balance. So we're going to work as well as we can and expeditiously as possible to make sure that that deficit is not $70,000. But I want to just point that out now as a key highlight. The budget really remains the same as the draft that we presented last month. There is one addition. We were just recently last week awarded a $200,000 grant from Connecticut DECD for the Brownfield Area Revitalization Program, BAR program, through DECD's Brown project in the city of Bridgeport along the Yellow Mill Channel. They have some other funding through the Trust for Public Land where they're looking to kind of do a waterfront recapture project along the Yellow Mill Channel and Waterview Avenue. So this funding will go towards that. We're good? Okay. This funding will go towards the planning work and the brownfield assessment work in that area. So that grant has been added to this. And we did, just for everyone's awareness, from a board perspective, in order to apply for that grant, you had to have a resolution prior to application. So that was one back in, I believe it was April or maybe March, that we added a resolution from this body for MetroCOG to apply for that. So we don't need a subsequent resolution upon receipt of the award. I just wanted to give you an update of that. We also have a new revolving loan fund that is being worked through the process right now. So that's part of our EPA brownfields funding. We received $1 million in supplemental RLF funding. So that's the revolving loan fund for specifically cleanup of brownfield sites. So we're in the process right now of working that through with our EPA project officer, getting all the documentation submitted, and getting all the grant agreements signed. But that will add another $1 million of revolving loan fund brownfield remediation funding to the money that we already have from our previous brownfields funding. So another nice addition to our portfolio of brownfield funding for the region. And that's really it. The only other thing was the memo that I sent out to you all yesterday regarding the lobbying. I know Laura followed up this morning, and I replied to Laura's email with everyone on it this morning in regards to the lobbying. One of the things that I said in my memo was, given the fact that we're undertaking a relatively significant expense potentially on the legal and consulting fees for the PURA docket, it was my recommendation that we did not continue the lobbying fees. Part of that is, as I pointed out in the memo, that those lobbying fees are not able to be accounted for as part of our indirect cost pool. So that funding gets pulled out of our indirect costs calculation. And our indirect cost calculation is really what funds all of the ancillary things in the office beyond personnel, the direct hourly rates for the personnel. So our rent and our printing and all that sort of stuff is covered. Our fringe benefits, those are all covered through our indirect cost rate. So that lobbying fees are not able to be applied to that just because of they're not technically kind of agency administrative fees. So that means that the currently $24,000 a year that we were paying is not being recaptured in any sort of revenue that we are getting as an agency. Laura did ask a question about how other regions deal with that, because I did talk to Capital Region. They do not include it as part of their indirect costs either. But what they've done, and they've had a lobbyist for many, many years, so part of it's kind of baked into their municipal dues structure. But when they initiated it, what they did is they increased their municipal dues based on specifically the amount that the lobbying was gonna cost. So it became part of their municipal dues structure, was an additional assessment specifically for the lobbying for their region. The only other COG that has a registered lobbyist is MetroCOG, and they just started with one this year. So I haven't talked to Rick Dunn up there about how he's allocating the cost for that yet.
Okay. Anybody have any comments? Is that Bill? Bill, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good on the budget. Thank you.
Ken, you want to say something?
Hi, yes, through the chair. Thanks. So I don't mean to be a stickler here, but I honestly think it wouldn't be a good precedent to set an unbalanced budget. That's kind of rare. It would seem to me there are two choices. We should either bump the revenue and say there's a declared use of fund balance that potentially could be used for that. But maybe the better approach, I mean, we made the commitment in this fiscal year, and I thought when we voted, on the amount for that we implicitly said, hey, we're going to use fund balance. So I wonder if it might be better for the board to do that this year and set aside that fund balance use as kind of an obligation carrying forward. Or again, we could just raise the revenue 70, but I'm not sure we want to have a negative budget, with a negative balance on it.
Yeah, I mean, I am fine either way. I don't think it doesn't significantly alter what our budgetary process in any way. The only reason that we decided to show an unbalanced budget was because of the way our financials work. We can't, on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, we can't technically go in and just pull money out of our fund balance to pay something. We have to pay it as part of our annual our expenses on a monthly basis, and only at such time after the audit's completed for the previous fiscal year and they come back and show a deficit does that technically pull out of the fund balance. So we were just trying to show that there's likely going to be a deficit because of the fact that we're using money that does not have a revenue attached to it.
I get it. I just, from an accounting perspective.
Yeah, we certainly, we can add 70,000 to the revenue side to balance it.
Yeah.
And we can have a line item in there for fund balance. If we want to adjust this budget, we can do fund balance allocation 70,000 on the revenue side, and then have that direct 70,000 coming out on the expense side for the legal and consulting services, and then it's balanced. So from a practical perspective, if that's what the board would like to do, it doesn't change the budget in any material way. It's just a matter of evening and balancing the numbers from a revenue and expense perspective.
Well, from an accounting viewpoint, that would be probably the better way to do it.
Okay.
Who else, anyone else want to comment on
Yeah,
that?
I can't see you, so I don't know what happened to the owl, but there's no,
Oh,
you're not visible at all, so.
Aw.
There we go.
Oh,
We're back.
there we
There you
go.
go.
Sorry, it
That's
turned off
okay.
on us.
So Vicky, I agree with Ken. I'm not approving a budget that's a deficit.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And when I saw it, I went over to my finance director and said, how would we do this on the municipal side? And she said, well, you do a fund transfer from your fund balance to the expense, but it's got to be authorized by whatever process you do. And I thought we had already done that when we approved the expense, when we hired the consultants in the legal firm.
We did authorize it as part of that initial authorizing resolution to utilize $70,000 up to an aggregate of $70,000 of fund balance. I just didn't have any other mechanism, and I guess adding a fund balance line item to this. There was no way, Lauren, for us. There's no way for us.
You would transfer, Matt. You transfer. Ken, you've done this for a gazillion years. How do we do this?
Yeah,
so it makes it.
So if the vote previous did authorize
It did.
the use of fund balance, then really the better approach is we take it out of the budget at 70, and they encumber in June 30th the 70,000 in an expense line the auditors will then take it out of fund balance at the end of June 25. So
Okay.
the fund balance will be 70 lower
Right.
in June 25, but if we don't spend the money, it'll pop back in the next year. So if we only spend 30,000 of it, then at June 26th, it'll just roll back.
Okay, so,
But that's really the technical way to do it, so you don't
Okay.
really need it in the budget.
So you don't need it in the budget.
Because it implies there's another 70,000 is gonna be spent if we already authorized the
Yeah,
70
okay.
here.
so basically, so what we really should do is just pull the step legal services pure line item out of the expense side, which then
But
balances.
do make sure in your books for this June
Yes,
that you have an income.
An encumbrance.
Talk to the auditor, but
Yep.
just call it an encumbrance for for those legal bills, so you
Of
can pay them when
70,000.
they come in.
yes,
In the next year, you just roll that over.
okay, so.
Accrual.
So this is still a draft budget until such time that we approve it, so. Do we need a motion to strike that one line from the expense?
Well, can
I
we
think
talk-
should.
Can we talk a couple other things before we do that?
Yeah,
Sure. So, I read your memo. I replied, obviously. I'm sorry I didn't have more time than this morning. The premise of having a lobbyist for this group was the strength of this group, the strength of 6 of us, which is kind of the same philosophy we're going at the Aquarian sale with. I don't want to throw out the concept if you don't feel, because we don't feel the services are being rendered the way we want it. I still feel very strongly that our voice needs to be heard in Hartford, and we actually need somebody who's representing us inside and hearing things that might affect us negatively. That bill 5002 was lobbied, advocated for and against on many, many, many fronts. And they all ended up working together, these lobbyist groups and these advocacy groups. So we got another bite at this apple. If you don't want to spend $24,000, maybe we can go out to RFP. I mean, when you went out to RFP last year, did you see about the expense? Were they all the same? Is that what we
they
would
were,
have to go?
within the same relative ballpark, yes, Laura.
Okay, I'm really interested in hearing what everybody else thinks about services rendered and if they think it's worth it.
So I'll
I think
go
that's
first.
it.
Oh, everybody wants. I don't think it was particularly effective for us this year, but I'm not sure I know the answer as to whether it was a necessary job done ineffectively or an unnecessary job. I didn't feel like it was helpful to us. I think, particularly in 5002, we really although as usual, we were pulling in the same direction, we all kind of did it independently. So I think putting that all together, I would probably favor, we don't scrap the concept, I'll say yet, but that we do look for a different lobbyist potentially.
Anybody else? Okay,
Just a thought, I mean, if we, I'm kind of mixed on it, and probably it should be up to you folks more, because you probably utilize the firm. We have our Reynolds group up there, but maybe the easier way to do it would be either to agree, hey, you're looking to continue the concept and then do a budget transfer during the year once you identify
Yeah.
how much, or I don't know, and I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I don't know if that increase in computer of 25,000, that line, if that has extra in it, maybe you could take 10 out of that and put 10 into a lobbying line just for now, just to have a small amount designated for lobbying. I mean, is there some other budget line you could just reduce by 10 or 15,000 just to have a small line item that says, consulting expenses, to just give you a base going into the year? That's the other thought.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I mean, I think if the board feels we want to continue with this, I do think potentially there's value in going back out to an open competitive solicitation process and seeing what responses we get, and potentially seeing what that looks like. To that point, Ken, I think we can amend the budget through the board at any point, and I would rather wait and see what we got back from a cost perspective to understand what costs would be incurred, and then amend the budget subsequent to that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with everyone. I don't think we actually got a return on our investment here. With John, but I mean, I don't know. If we need to have a discussion with him, you know, maybe we need to coordinate better of what we're looking from him, because it seemed to me that unless we reached out to him, you reached out to him, we didn't get very much back from him. And this was a extremely busy year, that we could have used more input, so.
I would also like, Vicky, I mean, we don't have an end of session report. We don't know what they did for us that we don't know. That's kind of funny. We don't know what we don't know. And, you know, John might tell me something, but he might not tell you something. But I think really, even though the contract is with MetroCOG board, it's Matt, you're the one he's gotta please and coordinate with, or your designate, could be Patrick, it could be whomever, but I just think that I just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And Laura, to your point, is, you know, it's a contract that MetroCOG that I signed, you know, authorized by you all. You know, I think at points there are municipal interests that are slightly divergent from each other. So some of those are a little bit tricky on the regional basis, but I think there are issues that span every municipality in this region and have a similar viewpoint from all of you. I also think there was a number of, and again, part of my concern was really and I said in my email back to you this morning, where it was the lack of kind of proactive outreach that I got. I mean, we're paying for this. I shouldn't have to be the one always reaching out. I mean, I was getting bills from other folks, from colleagues, from other lobbyists days before I got them from our own person that we were paying. And those are things that concern me. You know, again, when there's a specific bill that's talking about COG funding and indexing the COG funding against our RSG funding against the consumer price index, I didn't see that. I got that from 4 other people, and I never got it from the person that we were paying. And I shouldn't have. From my perspective, I shouldn't have to say, "Hey, this is a bill I care about." It has the title was COG funding. That should something that should come to me as soon as it drops, and it didn't. And I never got it. I got it from 4 other people, including other lobbyists for another region, that sent it to me directly. So that was my concern, is I didn't feel as if the service justified the cost. I don't think, Laura, to your point, that the service is unjustifiable for the cost. I just don't think what we got over the last year and a half was worth the money that we paid for it.
And I understand that totally. I'm not disputing your.
And I like John. It's just not a comment on
no,
John.
this is not personal. I'm not disputing your assessment at all. Why I'm even more concerned now is 5002 is back in play, and there's going to be a special session in September. And I've been to special sessions. It's crazy stuff. Let's just talk about this Aquarion sale.
The last special session.
Special session. That's why, to your point about the COG bill, when you have somebody on the ground who knows what's going on, they're alerting you, they're telling you, they're activating us to start lobbying again, advocating. So I don't want to throw out this. I really think it's worth it to us as a group, the 6 communities. I really do. I would support Ken's thought about reducing one of our line items and putting something in this budget just to keep it in the budget, and we can modify it going forward if we need to. I don't know. He mentioned what did you mention, Ken? The technology or computers?
They're actually, if you're looking for, say, 10 or 15, there are actually a couple lines. I just asked Vicky if it came up last month, but there's a new line in here for 50,000 lots of administration. I guess I'm confused why we need 50,000 you guys to administer lots.
It's for contractual obligations that haven't come up yet,
But for who, for what?
for the general lots of grant.
So lots of the the transportation improvement program that we administer, part of that funding that we get from Connecticut DOT, we can request up to 3% of our annual allocation for MetroCOG staff to use to help the municipalities get through the application process, get through all the pieces. We also have a requirement to do a third-party review on all designs. So that $50,000 of contractual funding is directly from has to be spent on lots of money on lots of projects. And it's there for us to contract directly with our on-call list of consultants that review the final designs or semi-final designs that come from municipalities before they get submitted to DOT, which is a requirement of the program. We can't modify that and use
Because we
that.
haven't had the line before, you were doing it out of something, so maybe you could reduce that 15,000 and put a consulting expense line in for 15,000. Because the lots of reimbursement allow you to reimburse salaries, the consultants, you don't have to have a budget line for it. You could call it consulting expenses, and as long as.
Well, we've always broken that out, and that's always been in there. There's a $50,000 from fiscal year 25. We just didn't use any this year because we didn't have any contractual obligations this year.
Oh, the actual is at zero.
The actual is zero.
So
So budget is
budget?
50. It's budgeted every year.
I thought
It has to be.
I thought it was a new budget line.
No,
Okay. That's why I didn't know.
no, it's a requirement of the LASA program. We have to have that in there so that we can draw down on that against consultant charges.
I mean, look, to Laura, is it worth just moving 10,000 now into a consulting line from some line that they feel has a little slack in it? I mean, I don't think you want to use fund balance for a small amount.
No,
Just
I don't.
kind of have a placeholder for a small amount, and then you could always do a budget transfer later in the year if you need to get another 10.
I mean, we could move 5. We have 10,000 in our legal services. We could move 5 from our legal services and just put it in the lobbying one just for the moment, just to have it there.
But if all the proposals came in at 24,000, 5 is nothing. I mean, at least 10 is maybe half a year, or 15 is half a year, so. I don't think you're gonna get anything less, even though it's a shorter session, especially if they're lobbying in September. They're lobbying now. They're gonna be.
So we do have a contingency line item in the expense side. The third one down in operational expenses of 33,000. We could just move 15,000 out of that contingency line item, put it into the lobbying fees, leave the balance of the 17,073 in the contingency line item and have 15,000 in that lobbying just as a number to start with. And then when we went out RFP, got back, got proposals, we could then amend the budget formally with revenue and expenses equalizing each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, so that's a second piece that we'll do.
Okay.
Any other budgetary questions? We can do a motion to do both of those things, pull the legal services out completely and then just modify that all in one resolution so that we have a balanced budget that we're voting on.
Okay.
Yeah, just
so
on-
someone-
Just on RSK, I just want to say that I think they are good. They do a good job. The town of Fairfield uses them, and they've been very, very helpful for us on the United illuminating issues. They were pounding the pavement in Capitol, helping us get votes for the new utilities law. I think they are good, but I do think, Matt, you may want to have like a come to Jesus meeting with Mike. Say, look, you're disappointed.
We're losing your audio, Bill, a bit. I don't know what
I was just saying, I
Yeah.
think it's perfectly fair that Matt, that you have a come to Jesus meeting with Mike and John and just say, hey, we're disappointed that you weren't all over HB 5002. I mean, I know from my point of view, the first time I got an real assessment of the bill was from Alexis Harrison's 169 strong. I didn't really appreciate that. I would have liked, and that's not just RSK, that's, my state reps as well need to keep me more in the loop. And I was sort of on the back foot from the very beginning on this. And I think it's perfectly legitimate for you to meet with Mike and John and just say, look, this can't happen again. We need you guys to step up and keep us more informed on some of these big issues. But I think they're great. Honestly, I think John and Mike are wonderful. And, we have a separate contract with them. So, I can tell them what I think separately as well. But, yeah, that was just my 2 cents. And I just want to also, before we move on, say that I thought Chuck Furlot, every word he said was like gold yesterday. I thought he was wonderful on that testimony. Very, very powerful. And I think that was a great move hiring him. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I know it's kind of off topic of the budget, but I was on the call the entire time yesterday. Having talked to folks that do this a lot more often, the fact that there was 95 people at the highest point of attendees is unheard of for a PURA hearing. That in and of itself will definitely be taken under notice by the PURA commissioners, because they're lucky if they get 5 or 10 people from what I've heard on these
All
calls,
saying the same thing.
all saying the exact same thing.
I don't know Ryan Fazio, but I doubt, I'm not sure we're aligned on every topic. And, it was really nice. Like everyone was aligned yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very good showing.
Can we get a copy of Chuck's comments? possible?
Yes, I think I have them, or I can get them. We
They're on
were
the
already talking
transcript.
this morning about kind of capitalizing on yesterday's hearing going forward, so we're working on that already.
So it's transcribed, all the DOT, the dockets, the whole thing. So they also had a stenographer there yesterday. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Chuck had his written out anyway, so I can ask him and send them around as well.
Well, you submit them. So you register with PURA and then you submit your testimony.
Yeah, I think I have.
I did
that
it
already.
yesterday too. Yeah.
I didn't actually submit mine.
You don't have. You didn't have to,
Right.
but you can.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so back to the budget. Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, so I'm gonna propose an amendment to the budget to transfer, to reduce contingency budget line by 15,000 to restore or increase the lobbyist fees line from 0 to 15,000. And to remove 70,000 from the proposed budget, legal services pure, but to put that 70,000 in projected 25 expenses instead. Again, knowing we may not spend it all, but
I'll second
So
that.
that then thank you. That then balances the budget and keeps the lobbying line item in effect. Second by all.
So let's have a vote.
Vote on that motion. And
Let's
then,
have a vote on that motion as proposed by Ken. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
I,
Anyone against? Yeah, abstentions? I think it's unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then we need just a vote on
oh, the main motion.
on the
On the-
main motion,
right, to-
initial motion as amended.
Okay, so can I have, is any more, that's a motion that's on the floor, any more discussion on that? Motion. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Anyone abstention? That's unanimous as well.
Okay, well, just adopted. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to item B. It's Regional Services Grant, fiscal year 26 spending plans, attachment D to the agenda. Can I have a motion to move that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Second, David.
That was David and Laura, so,
David and then Laura.
Okay.
Okay.
okay. Okay, now.
Yeah, so RSG, this is our regional services grant administered through OPM. This is the COG state funded allocation for our regional planning work, really outside of the transportation realm, which is funded through federal highways. So all of our additional land use planning, environmental planning, economic development work that we are undertaking, GIS work, our shared service document management stuff is all funded through this RSG grant. The dollar amounts are the same as they were last year, $702,499.61. And that's all obligated to either personnel or direct charges for some of our technology and those sorts of licensing fees and those sorts of things. So the spending plan for this is really straightforward. OPM has streamlined it significantly. It's really just 3 spending items with a couple bullet points about what you do with those. They had in previous years kind of forced us to do some things. They've pulled that back, thankfully, and just let the regions utilize this funding for everything that we need to make sure that we can be of utmost assistance and support for the municipalities in our region. So this is just authorizing that. And one reason we do this ahead of time is because when we get the contract and the grant agreement from OPM, they give us usually 30 days with a resolution to return it, or we start losing money. So we do this ahead of time so that we get that contract from OPM, typically in August or early September, we can sign it right away and send it back to make sure we don't have any loss of funding.
Great. Okay, any discussion about that, questions, comments? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe that's unanimous as well. Okay. Move to item C, EPA Brownfield Assessment, 488 Tungus Hill Road in Fairfield, which is attachment E. Okay, motion, can I have a motion to do that, please?
So moved.
Oh, sorry, Bill. Second.
That's all right. Second.
I got Bill with the motion, Laura with the second.
Good.
Okay, great. Very bad.
So very quickly, this is coming out of our EPA Brownfield Assessment Program, different than the ROF program. This is specifically for assessing properties that have perceived or potential contamination. The town of Fairfield approached us in order to conduct a limited phase 2 assessment on site at 488 Tungus Hill Road in Fairfield. It's currently a town-owned facility that was previously privately owned. Town took control of it, and they're now looking potentially to build a social services organization is looking to build a structure there for themselves, but they need to understand what the contamination potentially is there. It was used to store trucks and things for the town for a number of years. So it's really just doing a soil and groundwater assessment on this site, so the town has all the information in terms of what potentially might need to be remediated before any development could happen on that property. But I would defer to Bill or Christine if they have any additional thoughts or comments on this site.
Yeah, I don't know if Christine's on, but I certainly have thoughts on this. Operation Hope feeds thousands of people in Fairfield each year. It's a wonderful organization. They both feed and house people in need and provide services. I mean, Ken knows this well. They provide mental health services as well for the people that they're housing so that they can stay in their homes. And they were housed in their offices were split. Their pantry was at First Church Congregational on Old Post Road, and they had used the kitchen behind our police headquarters. First Church is that space is going to be the Hunger Museum, ironically, and they're going to have to vacate that space where the pantry is right now. And Fairfield needs the space, the building behind the police headquarters. We need to harden that area a bit. Right now, it's just space that we need for other purposes. So Operation Hope is known for some time that they were going to have to find space, and they would like to consolidate their space. They need, I think, 20,000 square feet. The town was given this garage by the state. I'm not sure when that transfer took place. Ken, was that when you were in office?
I think it was after. It might have been under my successor.
So they transferred it to the town, and as we were, and then the town has helped Operation Hope identify properties. We are pitching in so that they can buy the St. Michael's spot behind this garage, and that will be used for parking. I think we put 300,000 into that, and we are turning the property over. And to the extent we can, we'll assist in any way. They're going to need to raise $5 to $6 million to build this building. But as they were going through their due diligence, they realized that what they can't afford is to have an environmental, issue on their hands on top of having to raise $5 to $6 million for a new building. And So we have talked to an LEP, and this grant would help us get the test work done. They've done a phase 1, and the idea would have a limited scope phase 2 test work done to understand what needs to get done in terms of cleanup. And Christine informed me this morning, I guess what the state already removed about 57,000 tons of soil from the site, but we just can't afford to find something, if it's like more than 10 feet down, then that will get uncovered during this limited phase 2 work. And then we'll figure out how to clean it up. This money will help us do the test work, which is expensive, as everyone knows. So any questions about that?
No, and just for everyone's awareness, all the assessment grants that we provide to municipalities, to private property owners, they are all 100% costs covered by the grant. So there's no cost to the town of Fairfield or to Operation Hope for this assessment work, as there hasn't been for any of the work that we've done in any of your municipalities either. Just want to point that out because it is an important piece to this, that it's a completely no cost to the property owner to have these assessments done. I think it's obviously a very worthwhile cause and a worthwhile potential development. So we were happy to bring it to you all for authorization.
Thank you.
Go, Ken.
Just a quick, I think excellent use, and that sounds like a great plan. Just a quick question to, I guess, Bill or Matt. Is there a sense of how much of the $500,000 might be dedicated to this? Because I know something recently came up that if there's any left over, that we may want to check.
Yeah, we don't have a scope and fee. I mean, we're going to put the scope together as soon as we get authorization from you all. One of the LEP that the town is engaged with is an LEP that's on our on-call list, already authorized by EPA. So we can just utilize that firm without having to spend more time, so we can move this pretty expeditiously. My guess would be, having recently done some other phase 2s, and this is a much smaller site than what we did previously. My guess would be we'd probably be in the $50,000 to $70,000 range for all the borings and the testing.
So some of this allocation may still be available.
We will still have assessment money left after this, and we do have other funding mechanisms that we can use for assessment. So there is money.
I'll chat with you next week about.
Yeah, no, that's what, yeah, please let me know.
Next week.
We have money in a program income account that we got from when we took over the city's revolving loan fund that has funding in it that we can use for assessment as well. So if there's not funding left in this specific grant, we have other mechanisms to fund assessment work.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
any further discussion or comments on this motion? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Or should I recuse myself?
No.
No, you can vote. You're good, Bill.
Okay, I think
Right,
that's.
thank you.
It is. Yep, passes.
Okay. All right, let's go to item D, which is Yukon Urban Funding Grant, which is attachment F to the budget. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor, please?
So moved.
All right, Laura? Have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Ken. Okay,
So this is, as described in the resolution, this is a grant that was awarded to the University of Connecticut through the USDA. It's an urban indoor and emerging agriculture grant program that Yukon was awarded. And what this resolution does is it authorizes me to contract with Yukon. What they did as part of their grant is they set aside $5,000 a year for our COG and a couple other COGs that were part of the area of the project area. So it's over a 4-year period. So it's a total of $20,000 a year for MetroCOG, basically personnel costs, that we will assist Yukon with some of the GIS analysis work and some of the community outreach and public outreach. So it's pretty straightforward, not a huge amount of money, but a worthwhile project, we think. So we're happy to support it in our region and potentially help identify places for urban agriculture throughout our region. It's not just Bridgeport, it's really every town, probably minus Easton, because they already have a lot of the agriculture up there. But they're looking for spots really that just fit a certain criteria that we're going to help kind of do some of that analysis with, and then do some of the public outreach and communication with you all and your staffs and residents of the region.
okay. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, unanimous, passes.
okay, let's move on to item
E,
E.
items today. They kept building up over the course of the week.
Okay, so item E is the executive director annual bonus. And we want to discuss and vote on the bonus, performance-based bonus equal up to 2.5% of Matt's base salary under the executive director's employment agreement, section 5, subsection E, discretionary bonus. Can I have a motion to move that to the floor?
So moved.
Sorry, Larry.
That's okay.
Joyce.
Lauren, we got Bill on the second.
Okay, all right, so this is now on the floor so that we can discuss this. We would like to discuss Matt's bonus based on this memo that he provided us and all the great work he's done this year. And I'm going to bring this discussion forward and say that I'm going to approve the 2.5% increase to, or his the bonus to based on his base salary of 145,000, and that number is 2.5%.
3,416, I think. I don't know, something.
I didn't put it,
I could do it.
I think. We're making you do work for your own bonus. I don't know if that's right.
3625.
It's normal, right?
Yeah.
3,625.
$3,625 is the bonus that we are going to vote on. And we can discuss that now. So if anybody wants to make a comment, please, let's hear the discussion. I certainly am in favor of this based on all the good work that Matt has done, you know, outlined in this memo that he provided us, and also obviously all the time that we've spent with him over the last year and the great leadership he has done for the COG. You know, certainly the Aquarium issues that we're dealing with now has been added, you know, much extra work on your plate. And we appreciate all that you've done and will continue to do as this moves forward. And that's in addition to everything. And as I said, the fund balance just keeps increasing. And we know that that was not always the way it was. So we appreciate all of that work to do that. So anyone else want to make a comment? Matt, we do appreciate everything you do and do
Thank
it
you.
so
I appreciate
professionally.
your
And your cooperation, your collaboration is outstanding with us.
Vicky, I'd like to comment if it's okay. I think
Sure.
that Matt, you do an outstanding job, and as the others mentioned too in our discussion, that your staff does as well. But you can't do that without leadership and without collaboration. I've noticed since I first got elected into this role that the role of the COGS, the responsibility of the COGS is changing. There's a lot more focus on regionalism, which is, I think, is a good thing, but there's always got to be a balance. I think you are very, very proactive for us. Sometimes you shield us a little bit too much instead of letting us help you shoulder the load, but we do appreciate all your efforts and your insight and your collaboration and good working relationships with your colleagues, because it makes you all stronger. It makes us stronger. So I think you do a good job. This bonus is well deserved. Looking forward to next year working with you.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, agreed. I just want to, add, I think we all agree that, you go to a meeting and someone like Megan Sloan's there, or Patrick Carlton, or Devin Clark, and it's just, it speaks well for you that you can hire and retain people like that, Matt. We had a Vision Zero meeting last night, and Devin Clark came. I was really gratified and thankful for that. You've got good people. Thank you.
If I could just quickly, just to that point, and not
You
for
have to
myself,
wait
but
till David goes, Matt. You have
oh,
to
I'm sorry, David.
let David go first.
No, I was gonna keep it short and just agree with everything that everybody said. We appreciate the
ditto
job
from
you
me.
do.
Thank you all. I really appreciate that. And I just taking off from what Bill said and Laura and Vicky, I sincerely appreciate the kind words and the collaboration and support you all you all offer on a regular basis to me. But as has been said, I couldn't do any of this work without the staff we have, from myself, Colleen, finance director. Obviously, the financial piece has been a huge thing that we've been working on for the last 8 years, and we've gotten that into a place really through her consistent and meticulous management of our finances on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis. Patrick Carlton has taken on a huge role with the Aquarian work. He's delved into the enabling legislation and that work well beyond the work that I've done on it. Megan Sloan is our planning director. Devin Clark is senior transportation planner. Nick Dostal, Lindsay, Hannah, they all, Stephanie, Mark Hoover in our JS department. Everyone does great work. They all collaborate really well together with each other, and with all of your staff. I think the relationships that we've cultivated between our staff and your municipal staffs, it really is what sets us apart in a lot of ways from other regions, and we're able to do the work we're able to do, and move it so quickly because of the coordination and the trust we all have with my staff working with your staffs. We don't do things without your authorization, but I also feel as if we've been able to cultivate a relationship amongst all of us where you're comfortable with my staff directly interfacing with a lot of your staff to get things moving. And I think that helps us, only helps us move things forward, both collaboratively, collectively, and expeditiously. So I couldn't do anything I do without the great work of all of our staff here. We are looking potentially to bring on a couple other staff based on our financial where we're at and with the funding we have. So we're looking to continue to build that capacity on our end to help support you more and more as we go into the future. And I do agree with Laura, there is a push for regional things, and I try to temper those to where they make sense and not just do regionalization for the sake of it. But I think we've done a good job of making sure that what we're trying to push at the state level from a regional perspective really makes sense and really is a value add to all of you, and doesn't kind of create unnecessary and undue burdens. That's what I will continue to do in this space for as long as you all will have me. So I appreciate everything and appreciate all of your support as always, throughout everything that we do together.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you all. We couldn't do it without you. You're a great resource. I so appreciate the immediate attention when we call, and the support and information, and just the projects are, it's just a great relationship. It makes our
Agreed.
jobs easier, because certainly we as I said before, we deal with lots of things.
You do a lot more than I do, so anything we can do to take some of that off of you.
Different things, that impact us and our inability to do other things. So your help is really very important to us.
Well, we certainly understand that and appreciate that, and we are here always to help serve whatever we can do to make your lives and make your towns run as well as they possibly can. So whatever we can do on that end, we are always here as a resource for you.
Great. Okay. Anyone else want to comment? Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to approve the executive director's discretionary bonus in the amount of $3,625. Can we go to a vote now? So
Yeah, there's a
this
first.
is
Yeah, it's already on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's on the
So,
floor.
please.
Aye.
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 I'm sure it's unanimous.
It is.
Okay, great.
I heard David. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay. We're on item 6 of the agenda, which is discussion items, regional POCD.
Yeah, just a quick update, Megan.
Okay, we're going to be having a press release next week. We always want to get things out earlier. Unfortunately, with when you have to translate everything, that usually adds another week. So we're going to be putting out the press release, and hopefully by the July meeting, we'll have gone to a few events also. And so this is next week is going to be the formal beginning of the public engagement process.
Great.
And this again is for our regional plan of conservation development as required by OPM. We update it every 10 years. Our current one expires in November-ish timeframe of this current year. We do have a consultant engaged on this, and pretty much all staff are working on various parts of this with Megan kind of coordinating the whole thing. So we will keep you informed of that. As Megan said, we've already done a couple of focus groups with staff, your staff and some other experts. And then we're going to kick off the public engagement piece over the summer and try and attend as many events as we possibly can that you all are having in town so that we can get feedback from residents and the public.
Yeah, and we're hoping at one point to kind of have like an all day or half day open house here. So all the different focus group members can attend. Of course, you'd all be invited and kind of make it a workshop. But rather than, just having like an hour-long meeting that, a lot of people are gonna miss and everything because of the summer, let's just have it either over, 2 half days or 1 day where people can drop in and, give feedback too.
Yeah.
With a virtual option.
And if I could add to that quickly, we're trying to meet people where they are, and the weather's finally nice out, so we'd love to go to their municipalities, any festivals, recurring events, farmers markets you may have. We'd love to hear your suggestions on where we could table and meet your residents.
We have Trumbull Day starting tomorrow night. You can come visit us there if you'd like.
Farm parade's always good.
Great. Yeah, so Ed, we've been talking with all your staffs about events that they know of and trying to get those on our calendar for those things, and we'll continue to do that. But if there's anything that you specifically would like us, the board would like us to attend or something, just please let me know and we'll make sure we do our best to have people there for that too.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have had that stuff done last week, so then we could have gone to Trumbull Day.
Okay. We'll have other things. We have
Good.
Declaration of Independence reading on July 4th.
That's a
At Town
nice
Hall.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not a long event, but it's well attended.
okay.
So yeah, that's it on the PLC. Just wanted to give you keep a running update on that for you all.
Great. Okay.
Matt, who are you using as a consultant?
Collier's Engineering and Planning.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, move to section item B, it's office lease renewal remodel.
Yeah, as we discussed before, the building approached us because there's some additional space that was just given up by our neighbors at the Southwest Agency on Aging. And we are looking potentially to take a portion of that space, probably in the range with all the add-ons, they do about 900 square feet, give or take. We did meet with an architect to look at remodeling the whole space. We did get the cost back. And what we're working right now with our broker, Bruce Wedenstein, to coordinate and continue to negotiate with the landlord and their broker on what that kind of cost breakdown is, what our responsibility to bear would be. What it's looking like potentially is, depending on what we do, we might modify the remodel a little bit, but we really want to be able to have a space that can add some ability to have some more cubicles and some more space, a couple more offices, especially if we're going to hire a few more people. We need to be able to expand our current footprint a little bit. And what it's looking like is potentially the costs, or part of the cost for the fit out and the remodel would be borne by our per square foot rent price over the course of the 10-year lease that we're looking to sign. So there wouldn't be any specific outlay up front, direct charges for this. It would just be borne as part of our ongoing monthly rents over the course of the lease term. When we get more details on that, I will get back to you all with that. It's still in the exploratory phases right now.
Yeah. All right, any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, let's go to our other business, which is our next meeting dates are July 31st and August 28th. And I know you said maybe we will not be meeting on the 31st.
Yeah, we'll see about July. That one's always tough for people, vacation and everything. And if we don't have any business that we have to do, we probably won't have it. We might have to have an MPO meeting that day just to have some, we do amendments. So we probably have an MPO meeting. In the summer, I try not to double book us for meetings. So if we don't have any COG specific items, we probably will just have the MPO meeting, get that done quickly, and then we can plan to meet for August. And I actually did just get a request from the comptroller's office to have Comptroller Scanlon come speak to us on the 28th of August. So we most likely will go through with that meeting.
Okay. I may not be
You
here.
want to condense the MPO into August?
I won't be here either.
In August?
Yeah, I may not be
August,
here.
yeah.
Okay, all right, well, maybe we change that meeting date. We can figure it out.
That's the Labor Day is early this year, so that's that weekend. So I think that.
Oh, that's that weekend Oh, you're right. I
Yeah,
think you are
that'd be
right.
tough for that to get.
All right, so we can always move that meeting even maybe to the first week of September afterwards or something.
I think it's worth it for us if we can, Matt and Vicky, to be present when Sean's speaking. Because he'll probably want to talk about the Seymour MERS 2.0. I don't know if it affects anybody here, if any of your labor, if any of you are
Does
Seymour's.
not affect us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
know
it was
for-
partly that more and partly a property tax discussion, because they're coming
Yeah.
out with something property tax wise. I think in the middle of the fall, they believe they're gonna be putting something out from a property tax. I don't know exactly what, but that's the crux of it was that he wanted to come speak to you all about some property tax things that they've been doing out of his office.
I probably would be able to join that if you have a meeting on the 28th virtually, but that next week, I'm not sure I'd be able to join that one.
Okay, well, we'll coordinate with all of you, and if we have to move something around to make sure everyone's available.
Or maybe do the
We'll do
July meet if everybody's there and not do the August.
Yeah, we could, yeah, we'll make it work.
Do you know when any idea when the special session might be?
No, I mean, based on the press conference, it looked, there was September was the date,
Yes,
was the timeframe
September is
that
what the governor said, yeah.
was
Not
talked
July.
about. I know, I think the Senate was suggesting September for their membership, so my guess would be September.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to discuss before we move to adjourn?
Happy Independence Day.
Yeah.
Happy July 4th, everybody.
Enjoy all your declaration readings, folks.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Thanks,
please?
everyone.
So moved.
A second,
Second.
Ken, thank you. Okay, I think everyone agrees, time to adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you all very much,
everyone.
appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Really wish they had done this in a special session, they just didn't. It's gonna impact all of us. That's an election season, I mean.